Well, welcome back. We got some plans. So, here's what's going on this week. Weather got a little cooler out, but it's gonna warm up in a couple days. If all works out, our sandblasting guys are gonna be able to come this week and sandblast this frame. We're hoping they'll do it outside. So we're gonna start the process of stripping everything off this frame. So radiator's gonna come off first. We got work to do with the cowling that we're building. So that's gonna be nice to have off there. We gotta pull the intake and exhaust off, the filter, engine, transmission, all the PTO, as well as the PTO gearbox on the back, and then get this thing wheeled outside, pull the LSWs off, put them to the side. Frame will be sitting on stands, and then he'll come do his work, get this down to metal, and then we'll put the tires back on it, wheel it back in the shop, finish up a lot of different odds and ends. There's a lot of just a little bit of metal work, just tiny places here we gotta do, and then get ready for paint. So we're on the edge. A lot of little loose ends here and there. But we need to get this thing sandblasted. So weather's gonna be good. Let's make it happen.
It actually cannot tip because these are on right here. I forgot these. If you want, we can just lean it against the engine.
That's fine.
Yeah. Oh, is that? Hopefully it didn't damage the radiator. Is that angle iron on top?
Oh, yeah, it must have been what it was.
Got it?
It's pretty tight. What do we got? Not bad. Well, we got the radiator off. We're gonna weld a couple more of these weldable hinges, greasable hinges on this center battery cover. When we dropped down one time, it bent one of these a little bit, so we had to bend it back. So we're gonna put like 3 more, so 1, 2, 3. And then we also, to hold this door up, we're gonna weld these like there, and then punch a hole through the door, and then we'll have a nice, kind of like almost like a wing nut, but a bolt with ears on it that we can turn in tight, take it off. That's how the other one is, and it works great. So I think we're gonna use the iron worker, punch some holes in this thing, because it's right there and it's easy. We already marked our holes where they're gonna be. I think we can reach that, so that guy or that guy is gonna help me put this over there, and we're gonna go pop, pop. I got it. These threads stick out further on this side.
Oh, I didn't see those threads.
So we can't hold it right, so we'd have to go off whatever that width is. So this side, we're gonna have to, whatever we punch, what hole we punch on that side, we'll have to measure over on this side, make a mark, and then punch it. Okay. We could punch that one, that's fine, we can just, let's just punch it. Yeah, we'll get it lined up on the line.
Oh, sorry, I didn't.
It missed.
I didn't even. Sorry,
jump back.
I didn't think about it. Oh, crud, I didn't even think about this. Right in here.
Well, I can
You want me to take this off? We can rip it off and then you can try to weld on it.
I think I can get around that. All right, here's what we got. So, got bolts that go in both sides of these. Flag iron's worked up a tapered adapter there to help squish it in, so that way it centers the cover when you thread it in, and plus then it won't scrape the paint. We're gonna put some handles on these bolts. So when you gotta access your batteries, there's just 2 of those. You can do it by hand, don't need any tools. This flips open. Added extra hinges, greasable, so that way the front of this tractor is stronger and more accessible. Now, after doing a bunch of welding yesterday, we got to break out the Milwaukee mag drill. I've always wanted a mag drill, never got a mag drill. Milwaukee's been partnering with us for a while, and I sent them a message that said, hey, We've had a lot of comments saying, why don't we have a mag drill in this shop? They said, well, we'd love for you to have a mag drill. So thank you, Milwaukee. So we're gonna put this mag drill to the truss. This is a M18 cordless mag drill. If I remember correctly, I read there's a 700-pound magnet on here, so that's 700 pounds of force that this magnet can apply to what it's hooked on. And we're gonna drill some holes in the back of this bud to mount the valve body. So let's get this mag drill figured out and let's get to work. Sidetrack real quick, but the PTO box, that's a Case IH PTO gearbox, and that goes on a lot of older series Steigers. I guess the new ones don't use this the same as it, but we got this to drop the power down for the PTO on the back of the bud, and everything was great and all until we started looking and we saw, as you can see, it's dripping oil right here. But there is a hydraulic port on here for oil to flow. There's 4 bolts and a flange that goes on there. And then, of course, there's your top fill port. And we start looking closer and this thing's supposed to have oil circulating. So that's how they're typically plumbed. They're plumbed into the, I think, the rear axle, the Steigers, tractors, and oil flows through this constantly. And I'm guessing for heating issues, to cool it down for applications or jobs where you're running that PTO nonstop for a long time. Well, we're not doing that. We're doing bursts, just a quick couple bumps here and there to unload a grain cart, and then it gets to cool again. And we contacted Case IH, and the engineer said, yeah, you can cap that off, not run, and just have it oil bathed. So just fill the oil up to this level here, put a vent on it, and you'll be okay. As long as you don't run it like nonstop for hours on end, it'll be fine. So that's good to know, because we got kind of worried there going, uh-oh, how are we gonna run hydraulic oil through this in a loop? That's just complicated. So thankfully, it'll work. There we go, sweet. All right, let's see. The magnet right here. Oh, wow. Oh yeah. Wow. That is a strong magnet. And this is a 2-inch chunk of slab here, so that's awesome. So where we got to drill, right down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's for the valve body to bolt to this back of the tractor on. So I'm gonna get this figured out. We're gonna punch holes in here. And there is a cooling system on this too for putting coolant. And I do have some coolant, so I might mix up some, get that attached, and we'll cool us while we drill it. All right, let's align this thing. I got the centering tool. So let's drop this down. That's all the way down. Let's lower this. Right there. Now let's turn the magnet on. All right, now we should be centered. Okay, this thing's got a magnet on it, so let's clip that to the side. Coolant. So I'm gonna just go right here. There we go. And a little valve here. Open that up. Okay. I guess let's try it. How are we doing here? I'm a little unsure on the coolant here. Well, it's dripping there. How that coolant works. It somehow comes down comes right there. That's amazing. All right. I'm just gonna drip it in there. I think we're just about to go through. Drip some fluid in there. Turn the magnet off. See how all this falls off. Oh, there it goes. There she be. Hole number 1. Let's do the rest of them. All right, hole 2. Turn it on. Open the valve on the lube a little bit. Cool it. We'll let some run down there first. Okay, we're going now. That is awesome. Oh, that is sweet. Turn the magnet off, and magnet is off. Huh. Where have you been all my life? This would have saved a lot of bits and humiliating drill holes that you guys saw on camera that I did earlier, but we're not gonna remember that because we're just gonna go forward, thinking ahead. Just when the tractor's going, it's all you're gonna think about. You're not gonna think about the previous days, so. Yeah, this is sweet. It's also got a ring here. You can hook your sling on. You can throw it over your shoulder because this thing it's got some weight to it. So if you're up on a ladder or up high and you're trying to put that on something, you don't want to drop it. Dangerous. Plus, you don't want to break it. So, but I'm not climbing anything, so I didn't put the sling on it. All right. Okay. Holes are drilled. Mag drill in. Put that thing away. Dump the coolant back in the bandsaw. And I think we're gonna start now tearing all this apart and getting off this thing. All right. So, leg arms is pulling off the PTO. We got the upper and lower drive shaft off. Gotta take off these hydraulic cooler lines for the transmission, I guess transmission cooler lines. Couple odds and ends, and then start unbolting the transmission, but we got to shove the whole tractor forward to get under the crane so we can get this chained up to the transmission. And then when that's out, we'll probably jump to the engine and get that out. And then we got to take the steer cylinders off, the jack, the cab, make her nice and clean again.
Now we removed everything that we needed to remove, which, well, not everything. We got some more stuff to remove. He's getting ready to push it forward. And I'm gonna stand up here, hold on to the safety railing. Yeah. And, oh wow, it's cool. It's moving on its own, technically, kind of ish. And stop. Let's go a little bit more, telling him how much to go. Now we'll take this off, because this is for the engine, to support the engine when we lift it up. But we're gonna hook on to right where the Logan clutch is set up and the PTO right here. There's a chain that holds it to the transmission. The nice thing is I built brackets to keep the filters for the transmission and also the hydraulics for the tractor onto the transmission. And so we don't have to remove any of that stuff. It'll come up with it. That'll work out great. So yeah, let's, you guys can watch the view from right over here. As you can tell, it's separated, and it's hanging by the chain. He's gonna take the skid steer, he's gonna push it forward a little bit. Okay, it's slightly hitting over on this side. I think we just need to lift it up some. Need to pull it away a little bit too, because it's at an angle. What are we hitting down there? I don't think we're hitting anything. I think it just needs to be pushed away. Because you grease the pins on the cylinders. Yeah. All right, there we go. Now we're gonna raise it up. It was just slightly caught down below on the bell housing. There's like an oil drain back tube on the transmission that was barely caught. So I just took a pry bar and finessed it. But we're heading up. That's cool.
I hope we just make high enough.
Well, we were lifting and ran into a problem with our hoist here. The chain, the last loop that connects to the hoist is twisted. We've never lifted it this high. And the chain is wrapped around and it quits going around the sprocket. So we got to loosen, which he's doing right now. So we wrap the chain around the beam. Now the weight is on this gold chain. And then we got to take apart that bolt there, twist the chain so it's straight. Which one was that? Punch?
Punch, but I got another
okay.
one here.
And then put the bolt back through, tighten it up, put the weight back on the hoist. And then we can take that chain off. Or just leave the chain there as a safety. It's probably not a bad idea. But with these new tires, we are just like pushing the limits. Really, the engine should have gone first, but the engine's got the mounts attached, and you got to pull the transmission back regardless to get the engine out. So we were like, well, let's just get this out first. And you think, well, let's just push the tractor forward. But the tractor's gonna hit the hoist there if we go forward anymore. So we're kind of limited. We can need this engine to go over that fuel tank, then pull the tractor back, then set it down. That's our plan. So if we can get this fixed, which he's working on, and then we're back in business with that thing. Yeah, I think that's good there.
Okay. Basically, whoever put the chain on it, the chain was twisted, and well.
Or maybe, well, I don't know. Yeah, it would have to be twisted. It would. It couldn't have twisted up there. I was just wondering when we bought it, when it was all in a big pile, if maybe it did itself.
Whoever
but
put it together just put it together. They didn't really try. So, okay, it's together. We could try lifting up on it.
All right, ready? All right, you ready to have me pull it back?
Yep, we're good to go. That's a pretty heavy piece of chunk of metal. All right. Long journey going down. It's a long journey. I might as well start going at it. Whew, fun.
It's a little lighter. I can grab the skid steer and let it down, but it's a little heavy for the skid steer. If I can hang on to it, I just want to stand underneath this thing. Where are we at? Right there. The chain almost needs to be like another 3 feet longer. Just started pulling the engine.
So it could lift up. Got it.
Okay, I think we're free.
Now this engine mount on this side is gonna hit this pipe here.
Okay.
So we need to take this bolts off right here.
Yeah.
This pipe out of the way.
Okay.
See, I've got
3/4.
Yeah, 3/4.
3/4. I think we have a wrench up here. We just need a socket.
Okay, it's clear. There. Yeah. Okay.
So far, so good. Got to get down. He's gonna take the mounts off that he made. Then we got to bolt those on because those are set up to be on this. Bolt those on, put it on the stand, slide this back, and we are engine transmission free.